My name is Florence, and I'm 29 years old. I am a quiet person who doesn't talk much. I live with my husband in a small apartment. His name is Julian. He's 33, and I love him more than anything. Julian is kind, smart, and always knows how to make me happy at every party or family gathering. He is the center of attention. He tells funny stories and makes everyone feel comfortable. All our friends and family say we are the perfect couple. They say we show what true love looks like. But deep inside, I have a fear that keeps growing. I've started to notice strange things about Julian. He comes home at strange times, and his clothes are often dusty. When I ask him about his day, he only gives short, unclear answers. One day, I found some strange tools in his workshop, small, thin picks, and other delicate tools. I'd never seen tools like that before. When I asked him about them, Julian just said, "They are for my new hobby. I'm making small models." I told myself not to worry. I wanted to trust him. He was my husband, my hero. I believed he would never lie to me. But the truth was very different from what I thought. One evening, while I was cleaning the living room, Julian's backpack fell off a chair and opened. Papers and notes fell all over the floor. I bent down to pick them up, and then I saw something that made my heart stop. One paper was a flyer. The headline said, "Art Thief Strikes Again. Valuables Stolen from Local Gallery." I froze. I looked at the picture on the flyer. It was a drawing of a man's face, and it looked exactly like Julian. My heart started beating fast. My hands were shaking as I held the paper. I read about the paintings and jewelry that had been stolen. My mind kept asking, could this really be Julian? I felt a cold fear inside me. I started remembering all the small things I had ignored before. His late nights, the strange tools, and the dusty clothes. This was the man I loved, the man I trusted. Could he really be a thief? My head was full of questions. I didn't want to believe it. I tried to tell myself it was just a mistake. Maybe I was imagining it. But deep in my heart, I was scared. The thought that Julian was hiding something so big and so dark was too much. I felt like I was losing my mind. I didn't even know what was real anymore. After that night, I couldn't stop thinking about the flyer. I knew something was very wrong. I began to see more strange things. Julian started getting phone calls late at night. He would whisper on the phone and hang up quickly if I walked by. When I asked him simple things about his day, he would get angry. He was becoming distant, and our apartment didn't feel safe anymore. I had no one to talk to. I loved Julian. I didn't want to believe he could do something bad. I told myself maybe I was just overthinking. I started watching him all the time, hoping I was wrong. But every time I tried to ask him anything, Julian would just smile and say things to make me doubt myself. You're worrying for no reason, he would say. I didn't tell anyone. What if I was wrong? What would my family think? So I stayed quiet. But Julian's actions got even stranger. He locked himself in the workshop for hours. When I asked what he was doing, he would speak sharply. We didn't talk like before. I couldn't sleep. I felt like a stranger in my own home. I was scared. What if my husband was dangerous? I stayed alone in the apartment most days, feeling helpless and weak. One evening, I couldn't take it anymore. When Julian went out, I decided to go into his workshop. I knew it was dangerous, but I needed to know the truth. My heart was beating fast. At first, I only saw tools and pieces of wood. Then I found a hidden space in the workbench. My hands were shaking as I opened it. Inside, I found newspapers and photos of expensive paintings and jewelry. There were also notes written by Julian. He had written about how to steal these things, how to get past security, how to escape without being seen. I felt sick. Maybe Julian wanted to become a famous thief. I was so scared. I realized I'd been living with someone I didn't really know. Julian was not the man I thought he was. Just then I heard his key in the lock. He was here. I quickly hid everything back in the drawer and tried to look calm. Julian came inside and looked at me. He knew something was wrong. "What's wrong, Florence?" he asked. I couldn't speak at first. Then I held up one of the newspaper clippings. "I found this," I said, my voice shaking. "I know about the thefts." Julian's face changed. His eyes went cold. "You shouldn't have looked through my things," he said. "Is it you?" I asked in a soft voice. "Are you the thief?" His face gave me the answer. "You don't understand," Julian finally said. "I had my reasons." Tears filled my eyes. "How could you?" I said. "I trusted you." I picked up my phone. "I'm calling the police," I said. "You won't do that," Julian said, his eyes full of anger. But I knew I had to. I dialed the police and said, My husband is the one behind the art thefts. Please come quickly. Julian jumped toward me to grab the phone, but I stepped back. I gave the police our address and begged them to hurry. You will regret this, Julian shouted. But I couldn't protect him anymore. I couldn't live in fear. Soon I heard the police sirens. They came and took Julian away. Tears ran down my face as I watched him leave. The man I once loved was gone. I helped the police by giving them all the evidence I found. I also went to court. Julian's crimes were very serious. He had stolen many valuable paintings and pieces of jewelry. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison. I felt sad, but deep inside I knew I had done the right thing. I moved out of that apartment and started a new life in a new town. I found a job and made new friends who supported me during the hard times. The memories stayed with me, but I worked hard to heal. After a few years, I felt a strong need to see him. I went to visit Julian in prison. He looked different. His face was no longer cold or angry. He looked tired and sad. We sat across from each other. He didn't speak for a long time. Then he said, "I've had a lot of time to think and hear, Florence. I had a good life with you, a beautiful life, and I didn't even see it. I took it all for granted." Tears filled his eyes. "I'm so sorry. I didn't value what I had until it was gone. I left with a mix of sadness and peace. The man I once loved wasn't completely gone. He'd looked back on his life and truly felt regret. I had made the right choice, and now he was facing the consequences. I was strong now. I wasn't afraid anymore. I was ready for a new life, even though the pain of the past remained. I had learned to trust again.